this is Bill Holmes with Collector's Maze, and I have today with us Charles Nelson, one of the members of our costuming community, and we try to get know him a little better today. And Charles, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? What we're so many of us involved in costuming and cosplaying and this and our characters. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, first off, I'm an actor, and what got me into cosplay was the fact that I consider cosplay as a form of acting practice, because where I am currently here in Houston, there's not much film opportunities here unless you're doing local projects and things like that. Whenever I got into cosplay in 2013, that was the first time I've ever heard of it. I had no idea what cosplay was. I didn't know how big it was. It was like walking into Disney World for the first time, auditioning as Mickey Mouse. You have no idea what you're walking into. And then when you get there, it's larger than life. You see all these personalities and you naturally fit in. So my first cosplay character I ever done was a pit named Slipback from a TV show called The Boondocks. That was my first cosplay, and it was actually an accidental cosplay. So I was a big fan of the show, and I know the show by heart. So once I put the outfit on, it just naturally came out, and I met so many personalities, so many people, and from that moment, I was hooked. And ever since then, I've taken on every single character as an actor preparing for a role.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because it's a bug. You either catch this bug or you don't. It sounds like,
absolutely.
No, I think when I started, I looked at it as like, I would just have a cool Halloween costume and I'll wear it once a year. And you catch in. No. I think a lot of people start like you did, just sort of, I want to try this out. It's an accident, it gets you involved. So how many characters do you do now? I mean, you started off with one, and it was just like, wow, I like this. And then what kind of characters do you do? Do you do a whole range of characters? What kind of things do you have?
Well, first off, because I still consider myself pretty green in the cosplay community. I kept my characters limited to a certain amount. So in total, I've done 7 characters. I've done cosplay for the past 8 years, and my characters have been pretty limited due to the accessibility I've had to them. For example, my main cosplay is Captain America.
I saw your pictures. They're amazing.
Thank you. About that one, I was actually quite hesitant on cosplaying as Captain America. When I first started, I started cosplaying as Captain America in 2015. And at the time, this was before I ever heard of Sam Wilson. And I was a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But at the time, as me as a Black man, I didn't know how I would be perceived cosplaying as Steve Rogers. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. But at the same time, something inside me just said, just go for it. Don't worry about what other people are going to say. Just do it. So I first started doing that. And like I said in the beginning, I researched every single character like an actor preparing for a role. So I read a little bit of Steve Rogers comic books. I've watched the movies. I'll watch how he talked, or how Chris Evans portrayed him, how he talked, how he walked. I put myself through an extremely hard workout regimen to physically enhance the role the best way I could. And ever since then, since 2015, I just kept evolving with the character. So my goal with Cap is to further evolve with it. Some people, they'll get a suit and they'll leave it at that. Me, I'm trying to really evolve with it, because I'm trying to show everyone, no matter who you are, where you come from, that anyone can have a chance to be a superhero. You can really do it if you really put your heart into it.
Oh no, and I think costuming is something you never finish. You build a costume or you do something, and you're always improving it or tweaking it. And you're right, like you're saying, you can tweak yourself. You can do that regiment to do, you improve that. But also your costume itself. I mean, it's never finished. It's something, either you're fixing it or adding something onto it and making it better.
Yes, absolutely. And I've been trying to constantly tweak the Captain America cosplay. I'm still tweaking it now, but with a different suit that's on the way, hopefully. And even with other characters, I've cosplayed as John Cena, and I've been a big wrestling fan since I was 9 years old, and John Cena was one of my favorites. So when I tried that, it was really just bringing in my childhood fandom to life. And it's funny when you're playing your character and you are walking in the middle of a con, you're just walking, and all of a sudden you hear someone call out your character name, and you just naturally respond, and you realize all these people have been watching you. When I was at Anime Matsuri in 2018, I had my John Cena cosplay on. I'm walking, all of a sudden I could hear people go doo 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 in the background. And I also heard somebody yell, "His name is John Cena!" And I was just laughing so hard because it makes me feel proud to really play that character. It shows me that it was all worth it.
No, I love how you take on that role. And you know, one of the things I think people don't really get about costuming and cosplaying is the interaction you have with people. It's not a thing of just about yourself, you know. It's like you're putting this on and then, you know, doing it. It's all of the interaction and experiences you have. Like you're like remembering that brief moment, and you're like, you know, it's so much fun, and sharing that with a group of people, you know.
It is. And in a way, it's like I'm getting joy in seeing other costumes too, seeing other characters come to life. It makes me feel like a little kid again. There were times when I saw Spider-Man for the first time, my inner child could not contain itself. That's when I first started cosplaying. I was in my pimp outfit, and I ran to this guy in a Spider-Man costume, and I asked him for a picture, and he just felt so happy. And then he asked for a picture of me, and as time went on, the more characters I see, it's like you just can't contain that inner kid sometimes, because your inner child sees your favorite characters since you're little, and they're right there in front of you. And I also want to give that back to whenever a little kid asks to take a picture of me, and I want to give that same feeling back to them.
No, it definitely is a reciprocity that, you know, that synergy you have. It's like, you know, the first time someone looks up to you and thinks you're Captain America or Spider-Man or whatever the thing, it's like, and especially it's a kid, it's like, wow, you know, that's all. That could be a burden, you know. It's that could be a heavy burden. That little kid, you are Captain America. You know?
Yeah, it can be sometimes, but it's actually beautiful because that makes you want to do your best and to continue being that character, for not just for the child, but also for yourself, because that's giving you more motivation to further pursue it. And it's very wonderful and fulfilling when a child runs up to you and calls you Captain America, and they don't look at the way you look or your facial features. They just see the suit, they see the costume, and automatically they assume you're Captain America, and you just want to be the best version of that character you can be for them, so that one day they can carry on that same legacy for another child, and so on and so forth.
No, that's very important. So, you know, this is taking you something. Can you share some of your more fondest experiences that you've had with this? I mean, there's going to be probably a lot. You've done it for 8 years. I know you say you're green, but it's a very long time.
It has
in this, and unfortunately, 1.5 years of that has been in COVID, which has been a kind of a sad state for a lot of us at home.
Right. COVID did hit everyone pretty hard, especially within the cosplay community, because a lot of us could not go out to showcase our work or interact with our friends, other fans. It was very tough, but the positive thing that came out of COVID was seeing everyone come together, especially with the social justices that was going on with the country at the time with the protest and the political runs and all that. All of these people within the cosplay community really put their voice out there to express what mattered. And that's another positive thing about that is you're not only using something as what people might consider a hobby, you're really trying to do something with it. So my fondest memory through actually was during COVID. Unfortunately, when you are a Black person cosplaying a character that's not known for being that, you do get a little bit of backlash sometimes from people. But whenever I experience that, I've had people come into my defense to really say, hey, this guy really is doing his best, and just forget what you thought you knew, just really accept it. And it just showed how many people really supported me, and that further pushed me to really continue to evolve this character. And I want to take this character as far as I can with it until another character crosses my path and I say, okay, I have fun with this. Now I'm gonna move on to that one.
No, I think it's amazing that, you know, you've gotten this kind of support, because I think that's a real fear of all of us when we put on costumes, you know, for any, I mean, and I totally understand it. I mean, regardless of shape, size, race, any, I mean, you could put all the isms with it, you know. Yeah. And I think all of us that do this are like, you know, always concerned in that kind of backlash. And that's really important, that our community is very supportive of that and encourage people to take take that role on and do it. And I mean, I you know, it is a thing. You know, it's so funny sometimes. I mean, I'm probably an older person in this than some. And I look at it as, I remember when Captain America was introduced in the comic books, when Sam took over for Steve Rogers. Right. That was a huge thing. That was like, you know, there was a few, because I'm an old Marvel fan. And then I go, wow. And when I see that, I identify that not from the movies, the new movies, which are basically TV shows that are, you know, basically doing what was in my childhood. But I remember reading that and I go, this is groundbreaking, you know, and it's so much, I think history, we have made so much advancement sometimes through fantasy and this stuff that people wouldn't take, you know, thing. And now, you know, even in my generation go, oh my God, you're the Falcon as Captain America, who inherited that from Steve Rogers. And that's like, boom. I mean, that was the first thing I would have thought of in the comic book in that. And and I think that's been a thing. I mean, how has it been? And again, this is kind of a, you know, maybe a more personal question, but as African-American, being African-American, how has it been in the community for you? And I mean, obviously there's differences for all of us, but how has that been?
Well, I would say, I think for me, I'm going back to what you said about when you saw Sam Wilson take on as Captain America. Whenever I first researched Captain America after the movies came out, and I identified with Steve Rogers first because of who he was as a person, because I could relate to that. And I feel a lot of people can, and that's what I love about him. And then when I researched I was very ignorant when I posted this, when I typed this in, I typed in Captain America, African American, just to see if, you know, if anybody else was doing it. You know, I wanted
it makes sense. No, I totally did.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't like, you know, the only one doing this. And that's when I saw Sam Wilson. And that was honestly my first introduction to Sam Wilson, and truth be told. So when I finally decided to take on the role, I did the Steve Rogers version, and I was doing that for a while. And everyone kept asking me, "Are you going to do the Sam Wilson version anytime soon?" And I said no at first, only because I love Sam. I love him, but I didn't really know him. So, but I told myself I'll give it more time, then I'll consider it. But then after Endgame came out, and when I saw that moment when Steve passed the shield to Sam, I was in the theater opening weekend. I was shocked I cried. I really cried because I've had people, even some folks online saying, why are you Captain America? You're Black. You should be someone else. Or why don't you be this version? I had people say, oh, he's the Black Captain America. I heard someone else say other ignorant racist stuff to
No,
me.
I'm sure. Sadly, that's,
yeah.
There's no excuse for it, because in this we should be accepting of what the character is. We can be anything we want, and that should be the thing, and encourage. If you're Steve want to be embodiment of Steve Rogers, you're the embodiment of Steve Rogers. If you're, I'm a Magneto person. I do Magneto, and I love
good.
Magneto.
I love Magneto. My father
and I'm like, I embody that, and I love that character. And everyone has those things that they do that strengthens them. And it shouldn't be based on race or creed or any of these things that we put these artificial barriers to our people to do this. If Steve Rogers resonates with you, go out and do Steve Rogers. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. It's what we want. And I think that's the spark with costuming, is none of us are going to look like any of these characters exactly.
Oh, no. Not at all, because these characters,
or be the clone of any of us. And yet when you put that on, and it really is almost an honor to that character. It is, because it resonates. Steve Rogers resonates with you, and keep Steve alive. Nothing wrong playing Sam either. But I think that's amazing.
He's on my list. I'm happy to announce that Sam Wilson is officially on my list, because after The Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, I was really anticipating that for a long time. And I know they pushed it back due to COVID, but when it was finally released, it really resonated with me just the same way I felt when I watched Steve Rogers. It was just more personal this time, because me being an African-American person and watching someone like Sam Wilson take on that mantle on the big stage of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where that is a big stage that is known. The fact that he got to do it, not just in a comic book where a couple people might read it, but where a lot of people can see it, it can resonate with so many people, whether a positive way or a negative way. It's very polarizing, but it's impactful. It's extremely impactful. So I'm happy to say that Sam Wilson, Captain America, is officially on my list. He's one I'm going to tackle next.
Yeah,
I've been hesitant for so long, but now I for sure. I told myself, yeah, that's it. I'm doing it now. I have to do it. It needs to be done.
No, I think that's amazing, and you're going to keep picking more characters and more characters as time go on, because they're going to resonate with us, and the characters that we click into and get to. Sometimes I'm amazed at the characters that I talk to people select, because they somehow identify with this struggle or this story or their ideals that they set for.
Right. And that's how it always should be within the cosplay community. Even if you may not relate to the character 100%, you can still be that character if something inside you says, you know what, I want to do it. And you should do it regardless of what people might say. You're showing your love for that character in your own way. And this is something I said before. I said, when it comes to cosplay, no character is off limits. You should be whoever you want to be. If you love the character, do it your own way. Do it with flair, be respectful, and just be honorable.
No, I think that is a huge, just a testament to reach out to people. At what you just said is like, I love that. It's like, get involved. I think that's the thing. You've got a wonderful community out there, and and a community is going to be what we build it to be. The people in it. And
absolutely.
Every one of us are bricks in this. That we form this community, and having this kind of acceptance and openness, and it is very important to what we do.
Absolutely. And what's great is that I truly believe that cosplay is something that will last forever. It's going to last forever. the way it is now, it's going to continue growing forever. And I hope that when my time passes, that it can continue growing and that it will just continue on for generations to where, hey, maybe one day we can have a legit like virtual con. All we have to do is press a button and we can transport from our house to the con. So we don't have to, if technology ever advances to that point.
Oh my gosh, no, that is awesome. I think that, our biggest hurdle is just, our limitations we set up here, that's, Star Wars is always a big thing for me. And I grew up in a small town and felt really removed from things. So Luke Skywalker always kind of stuck with me, as that character, and I think we put our limitations on ourselves, it's like, I can't do this for this reason, or I shouldn't do this, and I think that's our biggest hurdle in life or demon is right here.
Yes, absolutely.
And worrying what other people think is that thing. It's like, are they going to accept me as this? And I think it was interesting hearing you say that. It's like, you're doing the research before you go ahead. Is this, how are people going to react to this and this? And it's like, wow, that's something, because I come from the thing as I didn't understand, when I've been in this for like 13 some years now.
Right.
And if you would have asked my younger self, I would be like, putting on costumes, really? I'm not quite getting. It's kind of cool, but I don't. My 15 years ago, you'd ask me about it. I'd be like, I couldn't do that.
Right, and
I couldn't do that.
Right, I was the same way because when I was a kid, I love Spider-Man. I was resonated with Spider-Man. I saw Captain America, but it didn't resonate with me. But it was until I saw the first Avenger. When I saw that, and that's when I said, okay, I relate to him a little bit because I know what it feels like to be the little guy. And then when I accidentally walked into the cosplay community, that was when everything changed. And then I realized it was like you said, you got bit by the bug. Once you get bit by the bug, there's no going back.
No.
Once I realized I walked into it, I told myself, yeah, no, I can't leave from this. I have to do this.
No, I totally get you. And my first experience, it's like, I wasn't prepared. I was like, I just put on a costume. I could put a helmet on. I had like a stormtrooper costume, and I'd walk out and, I didn't have to put my face out there at the time. So I was much more comfortable at that. Now I do more things open face than not,
Oh, yeah.
I come out and that little kid looks up at me and goes, I bend down. He's like asking my name, and what's and I'm like going, you're a stormtrooper. Can I take your picture with you? What's your name? And I'm like, oh my god, it's like, and then I think my first time I felt really strange. I'm Bill, and I'm like, that didn't sound like a stormtrooper name. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't actually thought this out, because I didn't want to like just give a number or something. But it's like we were laughing about that. It's so funny how. But that little boy thought, I was it, or, that kid looking up you are Steve Rogers. You are that moment.
Right. And it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. I was at a con called Traders Village Comic Con in 2016, and we were outside. So me and one of my friends that I was with, we were just walking around outside. All of a sudden, I heard these little kids yell, "Captain America, Captain America." I turned around, these 3 little boys ran up to me, and they were asking for my picture. And I could not help but say yes. So I took a picture with them, and they were touching the shield, and they said, "Thank you, Cap." And they walked off, and I'm just like, they called me Cap. It felt really good to know that these 3 little kids really saw me as Cap. And there was another little boy not too long after that ran up to me. He asked for a picture. He had a tiny little shield in his hand. It was the size of his fist. It was, and we took a picture for on his mother's phone. and we both stuck our shields out like this. And I have a copy of that picture, still say that's one of my favorite pictures. And he had this big smile on his face, and I could not hold back my smile. It was just so beautiful. And that's what's great about the cosplay community, is that you can bring these characters to life, not just for yourself or for your friends. You can do it for these kids who have no idea what cosplay is. They think this is Halloween to them. They think it's Halloween, but when they see their hero right walking in front of them, and they don't care what that person looks like, as long as you have that suit on, you're legit that hero to them. And that's what it is. It's a moment. You just give them that moment of reassurance, just like how we had those moments when we were kids. We had heroes we looked up to. So now we can give that back, and then they can pass that on to someone else. It gives hope to the world.
No, it does. I think that's a good thing to say it. I mean, cosplay does give a lot of hope in people and enthusiasm, and it helps having heroes. It really does, you know. And sometimes we look at it, and it's, you know, we look at the attributes that we admire about all these characters that we have, and even sometimes even the villains, you know, the attributes. That's why I always liked Magneto, because he was bad guy, but he was also kind of a good guy. He was kind of that gray guy, you know, that never, you know, in the right place, he would have been Charles Xavier and the hero, but in his experiences, it kind of put him on a little different path.
Right.
And I always thought that was always fun. And then, you know, and looking at those experiences and that, and, you know, like, you know, Steve Rogers, I think you thought that it's like, he started out as the little guy. You know, that, you know, Bucky was the big guy that, you know, he was his, you know, always looking out for it. And all of a sudden, you know,
like
those roles changed. Those roles changed. And I think that's always something. The world is always changing. Our roles do change. And I think that's a huge thing to offer there. And I think that's the thing. So if you had one thing to say to like people listening to you out here, that maybe they may be on the edge of getting involved and doing stuff, what would you say to them? Say, hey, why should you do this? You know, why would you get involved?
Okay, what I would tell you the people is that if you should get involved because one, you're doing it not just for yourself, you're doing it for the love of something that you know you have a desire for. And do not be afraid to show it, regardless of what character you like or love. If you know that you can do it, go for it. Do not be afraid. Don't worry about what people might say. Don't worry about how it might look. If you want to, you can. And also, if you say you put on a Magneto outfit and it's not 100% accurate, just know that's not your only time. You have other chances. You can always tweak it. You can always update it. You can always bring it back at the next convention or the next event or the next year. Give yourself time to grow within the community with your character. Continue to evolve with it. And if you try a character and if it doesn't work out, okay, great, it didn't work out. Move on to another character if you feel you can resonate with that character. And you just don't have to always resonate with them. If you just simply love the character, go for it. It doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, what race they are. If you love them, if you respect them, and you just want to show your love for them, just show it. And last thing I would say is give back. Give back to the community. When I say give back, I mean give back to kids. Give them that feeling that there is hope in this world, because the world is changing. This world is confusing and it can be very toxic at times, but just give kids that moment that maybe the world is not so bad. The world is great. The world is beautiful. There are great people out there. And no matter what suit you have on, what character you are, just give them that hope. That way they can have that feeling as they go on their own journey. And then they can maybe later down the road, they can pass on that same feeling to another little kid 20 years from now. And then that same kid will pass it on. It's just the same cycle. You pass on hope. And that's how the world goes around.
That's awesome. No, I couldn't say that any better, man. It's you know, it's about getting people in there and giving hope. I mean, I know that sounds really cliche, but it is. It really means a lot to people, because the real world isn't as pretty as we would like it.
Absolutely.
And the way I kind of think of it is, you have this suspends that, you have that suspension of belief for just a moment. You have that disbelief and that suspension, and it's like you get to go and, oh my God, I'm like 5 again, or or this is real for just that moment, and it really gives people a lot of
yes, absolutely,
just energy. It just draws a lot of energy out of it.
Exactly. Especially, I hope that after the pandemic like subsides, that we can continue giving hope back to the world, especially what we all went through last year with everything that was going on. It seemed like the world was on pause and everything was just hopeless. But I hope that now, with things slowly recirculating, we can give that hope back and just continue to encourage people that the world is not so bad, and that there are great people out there that really are genuinely, authentically trying their best to be good people. And like I said, pass on that hope.
Awesome, Charles. Well, thanks for joining us today. One thing I want to get out is a little bit of, you're in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And some ways that if anyone watches this interview wants to get in contact with you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, my Instagram is @thechampcharles212. And yes, if you see me at a convention here in Houston, feel free to call me Charles Nelson. You can call me by my Instagram name. You can reach me out there, and you can find more of my future cosplays right there.
All right, man. Keep up the good work. Keep out there representing. We need more Steve Rogers out there, brother. Take care.
You, I appreciate it.
You have a great one.
You too, sir. Take care.